across the endless expanse of the multiverse, where the fabric of reality trembles under the weight of gods and tyrants, two destinies began to orbit one another. Slowly, inevitably, and catastrophically, it began not with a battle, but with a scream from a world forgotten, buried in dust, famine, and broken prayers. Gorr the God Butcher remembered that scream. He remembered every cry from his dying son, every silent plea from his starving people, and every lie told by gods who never came. From that graveyard of hope, Gorr was reborn in rage, carrying the all-black necrosword, a weapon forged from living darkness itself. With it, Gorr carved his way across time and space, slaughtering gods with the cold precision of a judge delivering overdue justice. Pantheon after pantheon crumbled. His legend spread like a shadow swallowing light. Even beings older than galaxies whispered his name in fear. But in another universe, an iron-fisted realm of conquest and despair, another being reigned not as a god, but as something gods wish they could be. Darkseid, the Lord of Apokolips, the embodiment of anti-life, the conqueror whose gaze alone could erase hope from the hearts of entire civilizations. Darkseid did not merely rule, he bent existence toward his purpose, searching endlessly for the anti-life equation, the final tool to dominate all will, all life, all creation. Billions had knelt before him. Entire worlds had turned to ash in his shadow. Where he walked, reality obeyed. It was inevitable that such beings would cross paths. The collision began with a death that never should have happened. Gorr, deep within the cosmic gulf, hunted a pantheon rumored to wield temporal energies. During the slaughter, he found something unusual, a pathway between realities, left behind by a dying time titan whose essence tore open the membrane between Gorr's universe and another. The moment Gorr stepped through, he felt it. A universe overflowing with gods. So many beings who claimed divinity. So many who demanded worship, sacrifice, obedience. A paradise of lies, perfect for cleansing. But as Gorr's shadow crept through that universe, as god after god vanished into screams and dust, the tremors of divine extinction reached a throne of fire. Darkseid felt it. On Apokolips, the fire pits roared unnaturally, reacting to a disturbance even the Omega Effect struggled to interpret. Steppenwolf, Darkseid, and Granny Goodness brought reports. Shrines broken, godly signatures erased, realms left in utter silence. The new gods were dying, not conquered, not corrupted, but erased. Darkseid's burning red gaze narrowed. There was wrath here. Cold, systematic wrath. Not rebellion, not cosmic accident, but intentional culling. Someone was hunting gods with skill and purpose. Someone was sending a message to the universe. Darkseid did not tolerate challenges to his authority. He dispatched parademons and elite soldiers to investigate the ruins. None returned. Their screams echoed briefly through the mother boxes before being severed by an impossible darkness that consumed even their digital souls. When Darkseid viewed the last recording, grainy, static-filled, but unmistakable, he saw the silhouette of a man with a writhing mass of black tendrils and a sword that dripped living shadow. Gorr the God Butcher, a being whose presence radiated hatred so pure that even the Omega Effect recoiled, adjusting itself to match the frequency of an enemy forged in pain, loss, and divine betrayal. Darkseid's world fell silent. For the first time in ages, Apokolips paused, not in fear, but in anticipation. A challenge had emerged, not from a rival god or a rebellious hero, but from a mortal who had risen through suffering and slaughter. An anomaly, a threat, a curiosity. Darkseid decided he would not send his generals. He would not send armies. This was a confrontation worthy of him alone. Not because Gorr was a god, but because Gorr was something more dangerous. A believer, a believer in a universe without gods, and Darkseid refused to exist in such a universe. Meanwhile, Gorr sensed something approaching. A presence unlike any he had faced. Not divine in the usual sense, not born from worship or myth, but something ancient, absolute, heavy, like a collapsing star. A being who saw himself not as a god, but as the natural order of domination. Gorr smiled. At last, a god who deserved to die. Their paths converged. Gorr stood poised on the shattered remains of a celestial ribcage. The all-black necrosword unfurling in feral coils around his body. Each tendril dripped darkness, so dense that it devoured the faint light, struggling to survive. His eyes glowed with hatred sharp enough to carve eternity. Across from him, Darkseid emerged through a vortex of Omega fire. His footsteps made no sound, yet reality buckled beneath each stride. His stone-like skin radiated oppressive power. The Omega effect coiled around him like a serpent forged from red lightning and inevitability. They stared at each other. Two titans shaped by wrath, forged by loss, and fueled by absolute conviction. You are no god, Gorr growled, raising the necrosword. But you pretend to stand above all life. That is enough reason for you to die. Darkseid's expression did not change. I am inevitable, and you, creature, are an irritation. The battle began not with a roar, but with an explosion of existence-shattering force. Gorr struck first. He blurred forward, the necrosword slicing through dimensions, creating black fissures that howled like living storms. Tendrils lashed out, tearing at space, lunging toward Darkseid with the fury of 1,000 butchered gods. Darkseid raised a hand. The Omega beams erupted. Twin lances of pure annihilation zigzagged through the air, bending unnaturally, locked onto Gorr with predatory intelligence. Gorr twisted, leaping into the void, but the beams pursued, ripping through planet-sized debris and pulverizing ancient stones. The necrosword transformed into a massive shield of writhing darkness. The Omega beams struck it, detonating with the force of collapsing suns. The explosion tore apart a floating continent and shredded entire timelines, drifting nearby. But Gorr held firm, sliding backward across the cosmic plane, leaving a trench of pure void behind him. Darkseid stepped through the explosion, unharmed. Gorr snarled and attacked again. Tendrils hardened into spears, axes, scythes, an entire living armory striking at once. Darkseid parried with his bare hands, withstanding each blow as the Omega effect rippled around him. Every clash sent shockwaves that broke gravity itself. Broken worlds shattered. Distant stars flickered and died. Darkseid's fist met Gorr's blade. The impact sent Gorr hurtling through layers of crystallized time. But the God Butcher recovered mid-flight, spinning, the necrosword reshaping into a monstrous, draconic shadow beast. It lunged at Darkseid, jaws wide enough to devour a mountain. Darkseid didn't dodge. He drove his fist into its skull. The shock destroyed the construct instantly, leaving the battlefield vibrating with residual tremors. Gorr emerged behind Darkseid, swinging the sword in a god-slaying arc. The blade cut through Darkseid's armor and into his shoulder, drawing dark molten blood. A rare occurrence. Darkseid paused, looking at the wound, then at Gorr. You have earned my attention. Gorr's grin widened. And now I will earn your death. Darkseid unleashed the full Omega effect. The beams erupted again, but this time, Gorr didn't block. He absorbed them. The all-black drank the Omega energy like a starving void drinking stars. Gorr screamed with triumph as the sword pulsed, growing darker, heavier, more alive. For the first time, Darkseid's eyes narrowed. The Omega effect resisted, as if threatened. Empowered by stolen Omega fire, Gorr attacked with a savagery unseen across pantheons. His sword carved through Darkseid's torso, nearly cleaving him in half. The tyrant staggered, the wound spitting arcs of energy that tore through the multiversal debris around them. Gorr pressed forward, tendrils binding Darkseid's limbs, dragging him toward the waiting blade. Fall, Gorr whispered, voice trembling with centuries of hatred. Fall, like all the false gods before you. But Darkseid was not merely a god. He was dominance incarnate. The moment before the Necrosword struck the killing blow, Darkseid allowed the full essence of his Omega consciousness to surge through him. Not the beams, not the blasts, but the pure, conceptual anti-life infection woven into the Omega effect itself. Reality shook. The tendrils binding him disintegrated. Gorr staggered as visions crashed into his mind. Visions of despair beyond mortal comprehension. A universe where all will was snuffed out. A universe where purpose died. Where existence bent to one absolute command. Darkseid is, Gorr roared, fighting the intrusion. The All-Black screamed with him, but Darkseid stepped forward, placing a massive hand on Gorr's skull. You hate gods, Darkseid said calmly, but I am not a god. I am the end of all things. He unleashed a point-blank Omega burst. The blast tore through the Necrosword's defenses and struck Gorr's body with infinite force. His bones ignited, his essence unraveled. The All-Black shrieked and fled into the void. Gorr collapsed, broken, burning, dissolving into dust that drifted across the cosmic graveyard. Before the last fragment of his existence faded, Darkseid spoke. Your crusade ends here. Gorr the God Butcher died. Darkseid stood alone, victorious, as the multiverse trembled in silent acknowledgement. Darkseid is